I know I'm a bit late to the party on this one, but even so, I've wanted to talk about this game for a while now, and now is the perfect time to do it. I very rarely buy a AAA game when it first comes out. Even with the very small amount that I've pre-ordered or bought on launch day, I've always been disappointed, besides one. And besides, games are way too expensive anyway. I didn't really have any interest in Destiny prior to release, and I knew a few things about it, but I wasn't as hyped as about half the internet was, and I thought about getting it at a later date. So how did I get my hands on it? I went to a gaming con with my college visual effects course. I didn't go last year because I didn't have that much interest in it, but I decided to go this year because of the positive things that they said. The biggest game of that event was indeed Destiny. It made me laugh really because of the so-so reaction it had been getting, but it made sense why I was there. I got to talking to one of the reps there, and I know it's their job to get people to buy things and get people interested, but I did have some mild interest in the game or else I wouldn't have been talking to them in the first place. I didn't buy anything else there, and I also thought, what the hell? I don't usually buy a lot of things for myself, especially at that price, but I was like, what the hell, why not? It's got Bungie's name on it, and that gave me hope, but we'll get to that. I asked him some questions I had though. Just because the dude wanted my money doesn't mean I'm going to let him walk all over me. I asked about if I could get the game sometime down the road with all the DLC bundled, and he said that he couldn't see that happening for a long time. And that makes sense. I brought up the fact that people have been calling it boring, lazy, and falsely advertised, and we just had a conversation about it. To be fair to the guy, he wasn't like the other reps. He did say that he had been fun playing, but it wasn't perfect, and a bit of honesty can go a long way. Sure, he could lose some customers by saying that, but oh well, it's not my problem. The game made enough money, and I wasn't the only person there buying it because it had hundreds of copies, so Bungie's sleeping well at night. So I've had the game a while now. I've had it since the loot cave was still around, so that should tell those of you in the know how long I've had it. Am I disappointed? Not really. Again, probably due to the fact that I didn't have any hype for it and bought it just because it was there. For the first 3 weeks I owned it, I was truly into the game though. I played it for quite a long time, and it was the only thing that I played for quite a while. It was nice to play something that I was actually interested in, because for a while I got bored with games. Yeah, the story was shit and the missions weren't very creative, but I wasn't really paying attention to them. I was just doing the story to get it finished, and I took a long time to do it. I kept mixing up with strikes and crucible missions. The story missions are terrible, but for me anyway it's fine because I just mute the game and listen to podcasts and stuff. I'd have cared more about the story, but after the first cutscene the story just gave up. The story really is awful. They don't explain about the world or why we should care. They don't explain why Exos are awoke and care about what's going on. And I still don't know what the enemies are. I know what the Cabal are, I think, and I know what the Vex are, but that's about it. It's kind of a problem that the whole game is me shooting enemies and the game doesn't even tell me what they are called. Halo did it amazingly. And even now I remember the names of the enemies. Halo might not have had the greatest story in the world, but at least I knew what was going on and why I should care. Of course, I could leave the game to read more, but why should I? It should be in the game. No wonder the lead writer left the company for pretty much no reason. They probably just scrapped all of his world building to water the game down to make it basic. It was only when I got to Mars on week 4 that I really started to get fed up with it. You stand in a room for about 10 minutes taking on waves of enemies and it just dragged on. The earlier missions were exactly the same, yeah I know, but they were quick enough at least. They could have surprised us once in a while with Dinklebot opening the door after wave 2 or 3 and have him comment that it's faster than usual with the enemy still coming. Just do something different. So after I finished the story I got tired of the game, but it was good because a friend of mine sent me a few games and I played those instead. And also, I don't think Dinklage does a bad job. He's a robot, so it fits, to be honest. I thought he was good. Everybody else? Well, I could tell you about their voices, but I don't have time to explain what I don't have time to explain. I've been playing the game on and off again since then, but the fact that I'm still going back to it on a regular basis has to say something, right? They had to have done something right to get, on average, at this time, 4 million people to sign in every day. For me at first, it was like, I've paid £40 for this game, so I'm going to damn well enjoy it. Because after I finished the story I was just bitter on the game. I felt ripped off, and so do a lot of other people, and rightly so. I haven't ever had a game made me feel like I got ripped off before. Even something that I absolutely hated like Sonic Generations, I didn't feel ripped off when I got it. I had been hyped for that game forever, and when I got it I hated it, but at least it was a complete game. It makes me laugh when I see people on Facebook or YouTube or IGN or whatever make valid complaints about the game just to have fanboys come in and call them haters just because they don't like the game. It's pointless to try and reason with fanboys, I know, but I don't think having valid criticisms about a game can be classed as hating. People say if you don't like it, shut up and go away. What are you, 12? People are allowed to have different opinion than you and bring up valid complaints where it's needed. The game is a repetitive grindfest. It puts up so many barriers and half-baked RPG elements between you and what you want just to get you to keep playing. It's sickening, to be quite honest. The material gathering feels really tacked on and thrown in at the last minute, and if theories are to be believed, that's exactly what happened. The new commendation feature that they've added is exactly the same and added in to keep you playing for longer and to keep you from getting from what you want too fast. They did this because they realised the game had little to no content, and doing this disguises it somewhat. Every game by nature is repetitive, but it's all about how well you hide the monotony, and Destiny does a terrible job at that. Let's talk about another game for a moment that did grinding well, in my opinion anyway. Final Fantasy XII is one of my favourite games, and I spent damn near half of my 200 hours of that game grinding. And did it ever get boring? Not at all. I actually found it fun, to be honest. The enemies were varied, they all had different ways to defeat them, and they actually dropped loot that mattered. Or how about Skyrim? I've been playing that again recently, and pretty much every quest, when you get right down to it, is going somewhere, killing something or getting something and then bringing it back. But I've played well over 100 hours in that, and I never got bored. There's still so much to do in that game. In Skyrim you can collect material around the world to make things, and it felt very rich and rewarding. In Destiny it's very hollow and isn't enjoyable at all. So most of my time now is spent in the Crucible and Strikes. And while I'm having fun, especially with the added layer of verticality and playing with my friends, it's hard to believe that Bungie, pretty much the company that made online shooters what they are, all the customability options, made this game. There's four modes, 3 of which are pretty much the same thing. All my time is spent in control, and while it's fun, even then there are problems. Why can't we choose where to go? Well, that's a problem with all of them. But is it because you're afraid to show the amount of maps that you have? There's only a handful, and some of which the game doesn't even go to anymore. I haven't played Control on the Moon since The Dark Below came out, and even before then, I hardly ever went to the moon as it is. The same with Bastion. If they've been taken out for some reason, this is the first I've heard of it. And they've completely destroyed Blind Watch. The layout doesn't even make sense anymore. People complain about Firebase Delphi, but no. This one is destroyed now. I thought the control points had just moved because of the Iron Banner event, but wow. One of the best times I've had playing online was one of my first Control games. Our team all moved as a unit from one point to the next, and it actually worked. We actually worked as a team for once. Yeah, how about that? And we won in no time. That was pretty awesome, to be honest. Why don't they have a Sparrow online racing mode? That'd be cool. The stats the Sparrows have are pointless anyway. They'd only be useful for an online mode. Hell, why isn't there a football pitch or something? You can play with the ball in the tower, so why not? This should give an indication of how lackluster the amount of content there is in Destiny. In the first major update you could see what the shader would look like on your character before you bought it, and for a split second I said, hey, that's cool, but then a moment later I went, wait, no it's not. That should have been there in the game from the start. Like I said before, Bungie pretty much made shooters what they are today, but this game launched with no in-game chat. I mean, who the hell thought that was a good idea? It's there now, but you're too late because nobody uses it. Or at least I haven't seen anyone use it. Even my mother noticed the lack of voice chat. She saw me playing one day and said to me, why aren't there any 13-year-olds screaming down the mic? And I said, because this game doesn't have it. And she said, well that's odd, don't these games usually have that? And like, Bungie, what? What are you doing? Clans seem to be pointless as well. After only owning the game a month, I saw one clan tag, and when I first saw it I had to work out what it was because I hadn't seen anybody else with it before. I've seen a few more since, but because of the game's lacking features, they seem really pointless. I have managed to find some good things in the world, mostly in the hard to find loot chests, but that's not saying much. They were good in comparison to the crappy stuff I found in the other ones. In most of them you find green stuff, in green weapons and that. In the hard ones I found blue, but even after a while they're pointless. I will admit though, even for my terrible internet connection that I have in my room, I haven't been having that many disconnects. I had for a while at launch, but that's to be expected, and seeing as how the game is always online, I think once or twice a gaming session, especially from my room, isn't that bad. It'd be nice to never have it at all, but that's never going to happen. I'd rather have a few seconds of lag than to be booted out of a game completely, and I think most would agree. But what are you going to do? I haven't ever experienced any lag until today actually. I kept killing people and they kept killing me, but nothing happened for a while. People just kept flickering around the map like any other game. But it only happened for like 5 minutes in one match. I'm kind of surprised I bought an online game, to be honest. What about if I could never get a connection in my room? What a waste that would have been. Even though the connection is good 9 times out of 10, there are days when it takes a while to connect, and sometimes it says contacting Destiny servers the whole time. The loading screens are also strange. Sometimes they go on nearly a minute and others take less than 5 seconds. It would be nice if we could take our spaceships and fly around, but oh well. Oh, wait a minute, why don't they have space combat mode? Oh god, the amount of potential this game had. Oh god, they missed out so much, it's ridiculous. The light system bugged me at first because you couldn't make your character look the way you want to anymore. But then after thinking about it, you'd only want the best gear for your character anyway, so I don't think it's all that bad. But then it is, because like I said, you can't make the character look the way you want to, and then all this equipment that you've been investing in for the last, I don't know, 100 hours or whatever it is, you have to get rid of all of that just to get some new stuff that has one more light point. It's terrible. And you know, it's because they don't want you progressing too fast, so they randomly introduce this halfway through the game. The raid system is terrible. I haven't done one yet because A, there's no matchmaking. I understand that they said that they want people to communicate, but that's not up for them to decide. It's just so people don't spam it to get the best stuff and they want to drag out the game even more. And B, not enough people that I know are online at the same time to do it. And please, telling people to leave the game to find people to do it with isn't right. You shouldn't have to leave the game to find people to play it with. It completely takes away the whole social aspect of the game. So much has been taken out of this game and you just feel it. The game is very basic with just the basic ingredients to make it work, and yet I'm still playing it and I'm still enjoying it. What's there is good and it works well. I haven't found any glitches. The game looks incredible with great day-night cycles. But from interviews and trailers and everything else, there looked to be much, much more. And I don't know why it was taken out. Sure, it was taken out to be released as DLC for more money, sure. But why would they do that? Why would they hurt their image so bad? As soon as I found out that Activision was involved with this game, I knew something would go wrong. And of course, it did. What needs to happen is that no one should get the DLC. It won't happen, but it should. That might send a message. So yeah, I haven't gotten it. It's more of the same crap and it's overpriced. And one day you won't be able to use it anymore. The DLC is pathetic. In the trailer it said something like a new raid. Like, you know, wow, one new raid! Whoa, yeah, one! Oh jeez. And people said it was disappointing. But are you really surprised? I have the PS3 version, but if you have an Xbox version, I feel sorry for you. The game has hardly any content as it is and you've got even less. And going back to it, the factions are a little lame. Besides the gear, there's no real reason to join any or really care about them. There are so many rumours floating around about how this game was dumbed down for kids with many features being taken out, including a trading system, but we'll never know. But the more they stay silent, the more guilty they look. But why would they do that? The game is rated teen for a reason. I'll link to 2 amazing videos because they really are great and they get you thinking about the corrupt business practice that Destiny is. This game is just a mess, it really is. People say Call of Duty is bad, but compared to this, Advanced Warfare is like frigging Game of the Year. At least that's a finished game. Bungie used to care about gamers and interact with them, but now look how the mighty have fallen. 2014 has been a rather bland year in terms of games. Every game that has been hyped hasn't been anywhere near good, but any game that needs to be hyped instead of being successful on its own merit should tell you something. And if Metal Gear Solid 5 is bad, then it's game over, man. Game over. Destiny has too much on its mind and it doesn't know how to execute any of it effectively. I'm going to end this with a quote that I said on a forum. It also makes me laugh how they say, you know, every weapon that you get has some legendary story behind it. Because it really doesn't. You know, every single story is going to be, I was shooting at a group of enemies for about 40 minutes and then I got something. Woohoo. Until next video.